I've played Space Hulk 3rd edition, and I really had fun playing it. Also, I enjoyed Fallen Hope, which is a very similar game by Victory Point Games, which the advantage that comes for a fraction of the price. So I was pretty curious when I saw on the shelf of a store Space Hulk Death Angel, the card game. The card game version of Space Hulk. Intriguing. How could they do that? How did they manage to translate the game? I was almost more excited when I saw that it plays 1 to 6 players. I play a lot of solitaire games, and if I can find a multiplayer that doubles as a good solitaire, well, that seems almost too good to be true. I get 2 great games in one small package. The problem is that very often that is too good to be true. I find that very often multiplayers that have the solitaire option, when you're playing them by yourself, they are not nearly as good, as intriguing. They don't play nearly as well as the games that had been originally designed as solitaire games. So very often the solitaire option feels a little bit like an afterthought, something that was attached in the end so they could write on the box, plays also solitaire. This being the case, I had this mix of skepticism and enthusiasm when I picked up this game, which I always have in such cases. And I gave it a try. I played it several times, and today I want to share with you the impressions that I had. So disclaimer here, this is a review of Death Angel as a solitaire game only. I haven't played it with other people. I count on doing it at some point, but today we're going to talk about what happens when you're playing the game by yourself. Each player leads a team of 2 Marines and uses a deck of 3 cards. 1 attack card, 1 move and activate card that allows, of course, to move and to activate elements of the landscape like activating a door, and 1 support, which is a defensive action that earns you 1 of these tokens that allows you to reroll the die later in case you don't like the result or to do other actions. Each turn you will be choosing 1 of these, and then you will be playing it and executing that action. The tricky thing is that you will not be allowed to perform the same action twice in a row. So if this turn you're attacking, next turn you can only either move and activate or support. And that will force you to strategize and organize your actions. Another thing is that, as you can see, cards have a small text there, which is a secondary action or a secondary condition that comes with the main action. For example, when you attack here, it tells you also one of the members of this team has some extra attacks. Other attacks will allow you to do extra actions, special actions. So each turn you play the card, you execute the main action, and then you execute the secondary action if the conditions apply. In the solitaire game, you will lead 3 teams of Marines, and therefore you will have 3 decks of action cards, 1 for each team. You will be assigning the orders, the actions to execute to each team, and then they will execute them independently, one after the other. All other rules will still apply. For example, the one that you cannot choose the same action twice in a row. So what I do is I use the markers of the multiplayer game to indicate the action that I performed that turn. In this way I don't have to think too much about it. Next turn all I have to do is just to move the marker on one of the other 2 cards, and I will know that my action is legal. After you have issued your orders, you will move to the main board, which in a solitaire game will look like this. On top you will have a card telling you the location where your characters are. Here you will have a line of your 6 characters, so 2 per team, each of which will look like this. So there will be an explanation of the special things that they can do, the range that they have, and very important, a facing. Each character has 2 facings, and they have to have the right facing up in order to be able to attack. So that's a very simplified way to represent facing in Space Hulk, in the original Space Hulk, but it is an approximation to that. When it is finally time to execute your orders, you will first execute the support action, so you might be giving the support token to somebody. Then you will execute the moves, and you move Marines by switching them in the line. And then you will execute your attacks. In this case, this Marine is facing this swarm of aliens, so he can attack. After all the attacks, the surviving aliens will get to attack back. And after they're done with that, the main turn will be over. One issue that I have with this phase of the game, when you're deciding the orders you give to your teams, is a certain degree of analysis paralysis. When you're playing multiplayer, you only have one of these teams to worry about. So you read and reread the actions they perform several times. You get to know those actions very well. You know what your characters can do. Then you just look at the board and you know what your options are. When you are leading all three teams, well, first, it might take you a while just to get to learn exactly all the special actions that these characters can do. And you will have to know that, because if you don't use those actions, you don't have any hope to survive for more than 5 minutes. So it will take you a while to just study and learn exactly. And even then, in the first couple of games, I found myself very often having to go back and read and reread each text to make sure that I had all the options clear to me. So it doesn't feel like a game that when you play Solitaire is just you, the player. It really feels like you are doing the homework for three players. You're doing what in a regular game 3 players would be doing. Also, when you're playing multiplayer, I'm sure that there is a section where you're discussing with other players the strategies, what are we going to do. There's a degree of interaction that probably makes the game fun. I'm sure it does. When you're playing by yourself, issuing orders to each team takes a sort of puzzle-like quality. You will really have to think hard. Well, am I going to issue an order of attack, and then which marine is attacking what monsters? Am I going to move? Then who is moving where, and what effect is that going to have on everybody? I am going to give support, and in that case, where am I going to send my support token? Who is going to receive it? There are just so many options that you have to take into account. It just seems like a lot of homework. I found this, again, to be a little complicated. It takes time, and not that I mind puzzles in general, just I did not expect to find one in a game that I picked up because I wanted to blast nasty monsters with grenades and flamethrowers. Another problem that I had playing this game by myself was the strong sense of discontinuity that I felt between the long process of decision making and then the very short, very quick resolution phase. Sometimes it would take me a long time. I would be staring at those 9 cards, planning who is going to do what and how and where and in conjunction with what events. Then I would move onto the board, execute the actions in 10 seconds, roll the dice, and after 5 more seconds I would know that my party had been exterminated anyways. Sometimes that long process of decision making will amount to nothing. Now, when you're in a group, that actually can be part of the fun. I mean, I've been in games where people are together, then the dice hate you, crazy things happen, people jump up and start screaming, oh my gosh, how could that happen? It's possible, I can't believe it. And then stories come out of this that people will tell later. It can be part of the fun. But when you sit in front of the game, all the hard work that you did was absolutely for nothing, then that can just be frustrating. Now the problem was, at least for me, to find the right combination of parties, of 3 teams that would work well as a solitaire. In my first couple of games I chose random teams and my general party was just destroyed after a couple of turns. Then I went online, I looked what are the teams that people consider to be the strongest, I put them together, and the game I won, but it was completely uninteresting just because I was so powerful there was no real challenge. So I think it may take a while before you find the right combination that would work well in a solitaire, making the game not impossible but still challenging. And maybe it would have been nice to add in the rulebook something about that, just a suggestion of what are the themes that would work better when you're playing the game by yourself. Bottom line, I see the potential in this game and I really actually want to play with other people. I think it can be fun. As a solitaire, it seems that it might take a lot of work before you actually get to make it work well. You need to learn every single card, what the characters do, be so familiar with them that you can make the decisions fast. You need to work to find the right combination of characters. So, taking all this into account, I'm not gonna give this game a great recommendation as a solitaire. just because there's so many other games out there that you can pick up and start having a lot of fun from the first time you play them.